Hi, my name is Thomas Eflin, and I'm professor of jazz brass at UNC Greensboro. And this is part 2 of a couple of videos talking about how to incorporate jazz inflections into your playing. So in the last video, we talked about how pitch could be used to create a vocal inflection to your playing, whether it's using vibrato or bending your notes. And in this video, I thought we would start by talking about tonguing. So in classical music, you're rightly taught to first learn how to play the trumpet with a consistent, even articulation, like a 2-2-2-2. In jazz, we often tend to use a do-da-do-da-do-da type of articulation. So first of all, the articulation itself is a little softer with the do syllable, and the do-da creates an automatic built-in sense of syncopation, where syncopation is where you accent the offbeat. So if you think of articulating do-da, 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 you're automatically creating an extra punch or emphasis on those offbeats or those weak beats. Right? So do-da, do-da, do-da. Think of the articulation that way. And this takes a lot of practice to get used to, especially if you're a classical player and you want to switch back and forth. It takes a lot of practice, but you want to get that do-da articulation to a point where it's not something you're thinking about. It just is part of playing playing in a jazz style. So another thing we incorporate into a lot of our jazz solos is something called doodle tonguing. So again, think of the syllable doodle, 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 doodle. Clark Terry was the master of doodle tonguing and based his entire style on that sound. What a lot of players do instead, though, is typically to just incorporate doodle tonguing into different parts of their playing as more of an effect. So you might hear someone like Clifford Brown play on a single note this. Right? That's do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do is using that doodle articulation as an effect. And you can also use it to swallow notes. Dot, 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 that L doodle sound allows you to kind of create ghost notes or notes that are almost not there. Because when you think about it, in the moment we can't use our air that way. Air always has to be steady. So the tongue is what we use to create really fast variations in volume. So work on the doo-dah and doodle and listen to players like Clark Terry to really get that sound in your ear. It's something that will not come easy. It takes hours of practice, but it's so fun when you get control over it. Another thing we do in jazz playing is growling. Now, you have heard the really over-the-top growls, which we use in like really dramatic moments. That's from your throat. If you can make that sound, you can do the really dramatic growl sound. You can also use the flutter tongue, which I'm not very good at, to create a growl sound. Both of those are really harsh growl sounds. Most of what you hear with players like Roy Eldridge that used a sort of growl to their playing on a consistent basis was actually using the human voice. So you play and you sing at the same time. So if I play a G and then I sing, I don't have to sing G, I can sing anything. And it creates kind of this gritty sound. That's, again, vocalizing while you play. And that definitely takes a lot of time to get the hang of. And at first you have a hard time turning the voice on and off. It's kind of like combing your hair and brushing your teeth at the same time. It takes a lot of coordination. But once you get that independence of being able to use your voice and turn it on and off whenever you want to, it's a really fun vocal effect that brass instruments are capable of. And it's especially dramatic on the trombone, where you can actually hear the multiphonic, the actual pitch of the voice. On trumpet, you just hear a growl sound. Some other things to think about that are kind of fun, on the trumpet especially, is using the valves to create effects. One of those effects is things like alternate fingerings. So all the way back to Louis Armstrong, you hear alternate fingerings. So you're playing, in this case, an E and using the third valve to create an automatic break in the sound. Right? Most of you have probably experimented with this, but it's a great effect to use in your improvisation Freddie Hubbard, that kind of thing. You hear all sorts of different players use different alternate fingering techniques. So experiment with that and have fun with it. Another thing, especially with players like Louis Armstrong, that you hear a lot is bends, and this kind of tends to go in older styles. But putting your valve down halfway or so that you can that kind of thing, or even just to manipulate the sound. So if you put to create kind of a choked, kind of a stifled sound on purpose, you can use the valves to do this. And players have really explored almost every way that either the human body or the instrument itself can be manipulated to create interesting sounds. And so come up with some of your own, but really listen to players who are masters of these techniques. Louis Armstrong, Clark Terry, players like that who could pretty much do anything they wanted to on the instrument. They could be virtuosic, or they could sound like just someone freely singing. You want to be able to master both of those aspects of jazz brass playing. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and try some of these things at home and have fun with it.